I'd like to call the meeting to order. Mrs. Burns, roll call, please.
Mr. Sullivan?
Present.
Mrs. Hallenbeck?
Present.
Mr. Allen?
Present.
Mrs. Brochus?
Here.
Mrs. Lafferty?
Here.
Mrs. Marshall?
Here.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Here.
Mr. Sporny?
Here. Thank you. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. The board met in executive session this evening prior to this meeting to discuss matters of employment, issues related to labor relations, the purchase or lease of real property, matters related to litigation, and matters related to school safety and security. Mrs. Burns, any announcements?
And no announcements.
Thank you. Mr. Bowman, Superintendent's Report.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. Last Tuesday was the first day of school ever at the new Court Creek Elementary School. And after months of preparation, several weeks of packing and moving materials from Buck Elementary, 2 intensive days of classroom organization, and 1 snow day, the first batch of students finally arrived for the first day in their new school. I'm happy to report that overall the transition to Court Creek has been a smooth one, with the students quickly acclimating to the new building and getting back to their learning and daily routines. We have many people to thank for all of the planning, preparation, and hard work that went into this major effort, starting with the Buck Elementary staff who packed up their classrooms and common areas with as little disruption to the pre-holiday learning and activities as possible. Once moving day arrived on the 23rd, the materials were boxed and ready to go. After the holiday break, they pulled their classrooms, the library, the gymnasium, and the cafeteria together and cleaned everything up in just 2 days in time for an open house on the Friday evening before opening day. The school looked great and ready to go by the time the first families arrived, and we think that at least 1,500 students and their family members toured the building that night. The vibe that night was very positive, and the students seemed very excited about the new school. It was truly an all-hands-on-deck effort by Mr. Brian Kern and his staff, along with our facilities and operations, our IT, our food services, our purchasing, our pupil services and security staff, our administrators and cabinet members, all the building contractors and professionals, and many others who sweated out all the endless details that it took and were needed and addressed before Court Creek could open its doors. I thank the board for their efforts in investing in the future of our Neshaminy schools by supporting this beautiful facility that will help us meet the educational needs of our community for many years to come. With that said, there's also been plenty happening in the rest of the district since we last met. December was full of holiday activities along the annual food and gift donation drives. Hundreds of families benefit from these drives each year, along with area food banks. The holiday concerts across the district were spectacular, as they always are, and it was exciting to see this year's winners of the B101 Christmas Choir Competition, our very own Carl Sandberg Sound Waves Choir, perform live on the radio December 19th to a sellout crowd at the Trans-Siberian Orchestra at the Wells Fargo Center 2 days later. Congratulations to them for representing Neshaminy so well in the entire Philadelphia region. And finally, January is once again designated School Director Recognition Month to honor our school board directors and their dedication to public education excellence across the Commonwealth. More than 85% of Pennsylvania students attend public schools, including the 9,800 plus students in the Neshaminy School District. Along with district administration, the 9 members of each local school board make complex decisions to guide public schools to provide an educational environment where every student can find a path to success. School board directors are a vital component to our public education system, working tirelessly to ensure all students have access to a quality education. They volunteer their time and effort to the challenging and complex responsibilities of board business, such as voting on budgets, adopting policy, and conducting comprehensive planning. Their dedication and passion for their communities are truly inspiring, And on behalf of all the staff in the Neshaminy School District, I thank you for your service to our staff, our students, and our community. Thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Sullivan.
Thank you, Mr. Bowman. That brings us to the first period of public comment. Mrs. Burns, any sign-ups?
There were no sign-ups.
Okay. Anyone forget to sign up that wants to come up? Figured I'd ask. That brings us to some of our action items for tonight. Mrs. Hollenbach, 2.01.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. I'd like to make a motion for 2.01 administrative appointments. Resolved that the Neshaminy Board of School Directors hereby approves the following appointments of administrative staff. And there are 2 names on the list.
We have a motion on the floor. Can I get a second? Second by Mrs. Brochus. Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Mr. Bowman,
Yep,
would you like
I was
to
gonna-
introduce them?
I would. I would like to introduce Jessica Kelch. Jessica comes to us as our new pupil services supervisor, and Miss Lauren Steflik comes to us as our new C&I supervisor, overseeing federal programs and other grant programs here in Neshaminy. Congratulations to the 2 of you. We are excited to have you here, and a tremendous and warm welcome to Neshaminy School District.
Welcome aboard. I'd like to make a master motion to approve item 2.02, certificated retirements resignations, 2.03, certificated appointments, 2.04, certificated leaves of absence, 2.05, certificated revised leaves of absence, 2.06, certificated ancillary appointments, 2.07, certificated ancillary resignations, 2.06, support appointments, 2.08, support appointments, 2.09, support retirements and resignations, 2.10, support leaves of absence, 2.11, support ancillary appointments, 2.12, revised leaves of absence, 2.13, student settlement agreements, 2.14, MOA, NSD and NFT, I'm skipping 2.15, 2.16, food service profit sharing plan. There's a motion on the floor, can I get a second? Second by Mr. Rodriguez. Any comments or questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion's passed 9-0. Mr. Allen, 2.15.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. I'd like to make a motion, 2.15, High School Gym 3 and Challenger Gym Roof Restoration Proposal. Whereas the district desires to replace the roof at the Neshaminy High School, and whereas these upgrades shall include the replacement of the High School Gym 3 and the Challenger Gym roof, and whereas the district also received a facilities improvement grant in the amount of $826,875, the district is required to pay 25% or $275,625. The proposal from Tremco for the High School Gym 3 and the Challenger Gym Roof Restoration Project is $1,118,790.20. This would require the district to pay an additional $16,290.20. The total cost is $291,915.20. Now therefore be it resolved that the Neshaminy School Board of Directors hereby approves the attached proposal from Weatherproofing Technologies, Inc., Tremco, subject to review and approval by the district solicitor and administration. And the file attached can be found online.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor. Can I get a second? Second by Mr. Sporny. Comments or questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Items for approval at the public board meeting. 3.01, routine business matters. 3.02, homebound instruction. 3.03 overnight trips, and 3.04 the first reading of policy. That brings us to the committee reports. Business operations, Mrs. Hollenbeck.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. Business operations, our first meeting of the new year is next Wednesday, thank you. January 22nd at 6:30 in this room. Everybody is welcome to come out, have conversations with us. Thank you.
Thank you. Educational development, Mr. Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. The Educational Development Committee meeting was held on Tuesday, January 7th. The following committee agenda items were presented and discussed: the high school block schedule exploration, middle school schedule exploration, elementary schedule preparation exploration. The entire presentation can be reviewed on board docs, and the committee recommends the elementary schedule preparation options to be added to the Business Operations Committee for further discussion. Our next Educational Development Committee meeting will be held on March 4th, 2025 at 6:30 in this room.
Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. Facilities and planning, Mr. Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. The Facility and Planning Committee met on January 9th of this year. We had a number of items we went over. We went over the punch list for the Court Creek Elementary. We discussed the schedule for the field house, almost said renovation, build. And we had an update on the road project that is part of the Court Creek Elementary Maple Point complex. The next meeting for that will be February 13th, 2025. On the Court Creek discussion, we discussed the opening, that it went relatively smooth. Mr. Sporny was kind enough to share with the Facilities Committee his film of his dropping off his own children and showing us that some of our traffic concerns, that things went well. And we are hoping to fine tune that as we go along. And as I said, our next meeting for that committee will be February 13th. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. Policy, Mrs. Lafferty.
The first policy meeting of 2025 will be Thursday, January 23rd, 6:30 in this room. Please come out and join us. That's it.
Thank you. IU Board, Ms. Walbeezer.
The first meeting will be Tuesday, January 21st.
Thank you. Neshaminy Education Foundation, Mr. Sporny.
Yes, thank you. So for the NEF board met here at Maple Point yesterday afternoon. They reviewed the recent fundraisers and plans for the annual Harlem Wizards game, which will be in Gym 3 at the high school on Saturday, March 15th. The NEF is currently seeking game sponsors. Any local businesses or groups interested in supporting this popular event should visit neshaminy.org/wizards. Also at the meeting, the board completed the consideration of applications for the 24-25 grant program. The board will be funding 7 grants for a total of $12,394. The list of winners will be released this week. The next meeting will be held on Monday, February 10th at 4 p.m. Here in this room. Members of the community are welcome to join and participate. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sporny. PSBA Liaison, Mrs. Marshall.
No report at this time.
Thank you for the information. Tech School, Mr. Allen.
Again, thank you, Mr. Sullivan. The tech school the joint board met December 16th. That was our reorganization meeting. Going to give you our current offices of this year are Mr. Chip Taylor from Pennsbury is the second vice president. Ms. Brianna Curran from Bristol Borough is the first vice president, and I am the board president this year from our own Neshaminy School District. A couple of quick items. Our students of the month, 10th grade, we have an Edward Campbell from Neshaminy, and in the Skills for Life program, we have Ms. Hannah Covey from our school district. As far as our students go, I'd like to report that the tech school held the Schools USA Day on Friday, December 6th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade students competed in the technical areas. 9th grade students participated in team building activities and a pep rally. And the winners of the technical competitions will move on to represent the school at Skills USA District 2 competitions held in January. Do not have a date on that yet. The next meeting of the joint board is January 27th at 7:30. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. That brings us to the second public comment period, so if anyone didn't get a chance during the first period, you can come up now. Okay. Anyone have any future topics? Brings us to board comment. Anything? Okay, we're moving right along. The only comment I would make, I would like to welcome everybody back and looking forward to a new year. And the future meetings, the 28th of this month, the first public board meeting will be held in this room. There's a public work session on February 11th and another board meeting on the 25th of February. And I think the various committee representatives said when their next meetings would be. That being said, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting. Second by Mrs. Hollenbeck. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay.
Yeah.
Meeting adjourned.
I don't think anybody's.